This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast. Hey, friends. Welcome to I'll Have Another podcast with Lindsay Hine. Another episode of the Behind the Mic series with other podcasters in the running industry that I enjoy listening to and being a part of their community. I hope you will too. Today we're talking to Angie and Trevor Spencer. They are truly one of the very first ever running podcasts around. They started Marathon Training Academy way back in the day. I think like maybe 2010. Seriously, so long ago. They have grown their business. They've traveled all over the world running and doing events with Marathon Training Academy. They took their own coaching service and expanded it, and now they have a ton of Marathon Training Academy coaches and options. If you're looking for a great coach and community, you can find that at marathontraining.com. They are a married couple. They have 3 boys, and Angie has run so many marathons. 72, including 6 ultras. She has a PR of 3:19. She's run a marathon in every state. And also, get this, she's also qualified for Boston in every state. That is so cool. She's a USATF Level 1 and RRCA Level 2 certified running coach. And Trevor, who is the person who puts together all these episodes, he's the editor of their podcast and co-founded Marathon Training Academy with Angie. He once hated running and now has completed 24 marathons, a 50K, and 27 half marathons. He's run all over the world: Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Italy, France, Belgium, Japan, the UK, Slovakia. He loves using running to explore the world and meet people around the world and share stories on the Marathon Training podcast. Actually, if you check out their episode from April 2nd this year, it's their 15-year podcast anniversary episode. That is so cool. To put that into perspective, I feel like I've been doing this a long time, and I've been in this podcasting space for 9 years. So they've been in it for 15 years. They have like such a wide variety of episodes on their podcast, from world-renowned coaches to professional runners. And then they have episodes where they talk about favorite books, running goals, race recaps, all kinds of great stuff over there. So you can find that at Marathon Training Academy podcast. Now, in this episode, we did talk a little bit about our own running history. And I just had to be like, hey, give me some tips on raising boys, because they're definitely a few steps ahead of me. And I really appreciated some of the insight and honest answers that both Angie and Trevor shared with me. I just like soak up like a sponge from other parents who are a few steps ahead, who have like done things that I know I'm about to do that I'm not sure how I'll handle. So yeah, it was a really great conversation, and I'm super grateful to have Angie and Trevor in this space and now in my life. All right, listen up. Boulderthon is coming up, and this is such a cool race in Boulder, Colorado. Some of your favorite people in the running space will be there, including Laura Green, Allie Feller, Alexi Pappas, John Levitt, Matt Chittum. It is going to be such a cool weekend in beautiful, beautiful Boulder. You end on Pearl Street downtown. This is an iconic getaway weekend. And guess what? You can save $20 when you go to boulderthon.org and use the code HINE20. The race weekend is Sunday, September 28th. This is the 5th annual Boulderthon, and it just keeps getting better every single year. It is a Boston qualifier, and this race has doubled in size every year since its inception, so it is going to sell out. If you want to register, make sure you get on that. Again, it's Sunday, September 28th in stunning Boulder, Colorado. Go to boulderthon.org and use the code HINE, HEIN 2020 for $20 off your registration for the half marathon or the marathon. All right, friends, if you're loving this series, go over to iTunes or Spotify and leave us a rating and review. That is a huge help, and also just lets me know what you are enjoying or not enjoying about the podcast. All right, friends, please enjoy my conversation with Angie and Trevor Spencer. All right, friends. Well, today on the Running Podcaster series, I need a better title. I need a better name for it. But we have Trevor and Angie Spencer from Marathon Training Academy. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lindsay. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yes. So, I mean, you guys are the OGs of podcasting and running podcasting specifically? I mean, were you the very first running podcast out there?
No, definitely not.
There was a podcast called Two Gomers on the Run that I remember.
Two Gomers on the Run?
Gomers. Yeah, the Two Gomers. Wasn't that what it was?
Two Gomers run a marathon.
Or run a marathon, something like that. So I remember when we first started, that was kind of like Trevor had been listening to them. And, I was like, oh, this is cool, this whole podcasting space. And I'm like, what's a podcast?
and what's a Gomer?
What is a Gomer?
They're just two guys that are into culture and music and running. And they're just goobers, I guess. And they call themselves Gomers. They're cool guys. I think they're still doing it. They had us on their podcast like in that first year that we started our show. And then there's another old podcast that's been going maybe since 2006. It's Run, Run, Live with Chris Russell. And he lives up in Boston, I think, or at least in that area. And I'm pretty sure he's still pumping out episodes.
Really?
Since 2006. That's amazing, isn't it?
Wait, when did yours start?
2010.
Okay. I was 2016. I mean,
Nice.
so that you were 6 years
Wow.
before me.
Your math skills are amazing.
Well, 10, 6, you know. I'd like to know if the Two Gomers is still going. Do we know?
I don't know. I think they are. I see their post on Facebook, and I'm friends with them. They did the first marathon, and then they had a series called the Sub 5 Strive because they were trying to break 5 hours.
Oh, I love that. Did they do it?
I don't know.
I think they did different seasons. So
Yeah.
they would kind of have
Okay.
a different focus per every season. So it wasn't always about marathon training. Whereas, we kind of like had that groove from the beginning and kind of have focused more on the longer distances. Not that we don't love 5Ks, 10Ks, people starting out, that is totally our jam.
Yeah, theirs is more entertainment and culture.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think-
I love that though. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
that piece. I love because when I started my podcast in 2016, I really thought I would have more of that like entertainment culture piece, but it very quickly turned into a very niche, like interviewing professional runners. But I wanted to talk about like The Bachelor and like music. And I thought I was going to do more of that. And I still kind of bring it in a tiny bit at the end of my show, but like it's very running centric,
Mm-hmm. You got to stick to a topic, I think.
Totally.
To have longevity and like to build up an audience over time. I think so that's what Runner's World didn't do. Do you remember the Runner's World podcast?
I feel like I listened to a couple episodes. I don't know about you guys, but I end up listening to other running podcasts in research for guests.
Okay.
Because you're like, oh, I want to hear what kind, like how these people are in an interview, and that's how I've discovered more running podcasts. So I think I've listened to them for that reason. Back in the day.
It had a short run. I think it was around 2015 when they started. So probably around the same time you started your podcast, and they got to the top of the charts pretty quick. They're Runner's World, so they can get anybody on the show. And we had David Wiley, who was at that time editor-in-chief, and he was the host of the podcast, and he had a good voice for it. So we had him on our podcast. And then he returned the favor, and he had us on the Runner's World podcast, which was a great honor. Because I didn't even know if they knew who we were prior to that.
Yeah.
We were just doing our thing. But then I don't think the money was there for it like they wanted, like the big sponsors and stuff like they can get for the magazine. So they decided to talk about all kinds of endurance sports like swimming and cycling. And then the comment section was brutal because people are like, hey, this is the Runner's World podcast. I want to hear about running. I'm not trying to hear about ice skating or whatever, right?
And he was hosting it, David Wiley?
By that time, he had turned it over to other people.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then it didn't last long after that. I think there still is a Runner's World UK podcast, but it was sad to see the Runner's World podcast kind of wind up going that path. So I don't recommend two things. One, don't stray from your message for any future podcasters listening out here.
Yep.
If you start out...
Unless your message is dumb. That's right.
Yeah.
Then you can change your mind.
That's why you need a co-host like Angie to point it out when you're...
Hold you accountable.
Like she does for me. When my message is dumb, she lets me know.
Like, hey, do we want to talk about that?
So don't stray from your niche, your audience,
And
don't inject politics into your podcast.
Oh, for sure.
Don't do it.
It's really, you're right about that with Runner's World though, because talk about a built-in audience. Like I don't know anything about the host, so this is not me slamming the hosts or whoever used to host it, but like with the right host and the right producer with an already very deep built-in audience, that could have been a raging success.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was. It's just a small space. Running podcasts are never going to be as big as some of the other niches, I guess. So I just don't.
Or some of the other broad shows, like a Rich Roll, who's like, yes, it's health and longevity and all that, but like it is way more broad because he can have any kind of athlete on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he already has name recognition, had a best-selling book, is well-connected.
Yeah, for sure.
It helps. And Rich, if you have a name like Rich Roll, that could be anything.
I mean, is that really his name though? Like, was that his born name? Do we know that? Do we know? I wonder.
It's probably Richard Roll.
Richard.
Yeah.
Richard
I guess
Roll,
there are some rolls out there.
Mm-hmm.
Someone decided to roll with that.
I was thinking when I started, there was you guys, Marathon Training Academy, Run to the Top, which Tina Muir was hosting at the time, and then I always fail to mention him, and now I feel bad. But Denny Cray, do you know Denny Cray? He had a podcast. I don't know if he still does.
Is it like Des Runs With? I think or
Diz
something.
Diz runs.
Okay.
Yes. Diz runs. And then Running on Ohm. Those were the ones that I knew. Like those were like in the running sphere that I saw when I started my show. So I was like, there's room for me. Like I can do this. I can figure this out. And then, in the next 4 years, everybody started a podcast.
Yeah.
And then most people quit their podcast because it's a lot of work and, it's not a guarantee to instant success. And so you have to be in it for the long game, I think.
Yeah.
If you really want to, build an audience and have relevant content and, just kind of make a positive impact in the space.
Yeah. Tell me about your progression. Like, did podcasting come first or did Marathon Training with Academy with the coaching come first?
Yeah. Let me just piggyback on one thing we were talking about is the number of podcasts out there.
Yeah.
They say there's like 4 million now. But if you look at the number of shows that have published an episode in the last 9 months, that number drops significantly.
What is it? Do you know?
It's like down to like 250,000.
That doesn't seem, it's a lot, but like that doesn't seem that wild. I mean, there's a lot of people in the world.
It's true. Yeah. So with us, we started the podcast first, to build the audience and kind of test the waters and see if how people would respond, if people like what we had to say, if there was a market for what we had to offer, and then sort of built the back end, like the business after that.
We were basically just two people in our living room with kind of a starter mic, just wondering if anyone was going to listen. And so, it was perfect for starting a business that way because it was very low overhead. And then as people started listening, we're like, what? More than family is listening to us? This is crazy. I remember having like our first 500 followers on Facebook. It was like, whoa, what is going on?
Yeah, there was no Instagram yet.
And then, as we got, kind of more involved in people's lives and we're hearing from people, there was kind of a demand for people who were asking training advice. And I was like, whoa, I've, run a couple, 3 marathons, but I'm certainly not qualified to be giving out advice. And so that prompted me to go get coaching certifications because I really don't want to lead people wrong. I want to be giving them good information. So that was kind of the start of the coaching part of it. I was the only coach for the first few years. Until we got to the point where I think I had 50 coaching clients and 3 little boys at home and just was burning out majorly. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so, it was kind of a breaking point for me, but it was a breaking point in a good way because then it prompted us to bring other coaches onto the team, which, growth can be kind of painful and you're not sure how it's going to go. But we've been able to just get an amazing team of coaches, like people who are, so much more above and beyond than even me. And I just feel like we are so blessed to have them on our team and be able to help more people and just have that energy and enthusiasm that it adds to our team. So that was really cool.
And we still have the original mic that we started on. It's this blue snowball. You ever seen one of these?
Wait, but you just like have that as like a souvenir?
It still works. So I'll take it like when we podcast on vacation.
Really?
That doesn't sound like a vacation, does it?
No, it sounds like a work trip.
No, we used to do that though. Like my Patreon page used to be like kind of robust, not massive, but like it did okay. And I stopped posting. When we moved from Indianapolis to Raleigh, I stopped posting over there because I just like I couldn't do it. Like I was like, I'm doing too much. It wasn't good for our marriage. Like I was like, we can't do this right now. Like this isn't the time that we have. We're not going to spend podcasting for Patreon right now. It's just like, a crazy time. Moving is hard. It's really hard.
And podcasting is hard. It's a lot of work.
And having little kids is hard.
Yeah. And like, this is my personality, but that's not my husband's personality. And but people really loved the episodes with him and I together on Patreon. Where was I going with that? With the transitioning?
Podcasting on vacation.
Oh yeah. We would do that. We would like, if we had any time away, I'd be like, hey, can we sneak in like a 30-minute like Patreon episode? And yeah, we just had to stop doing that because it was just not good. So yeah, I very much feel you. I think the first Patreon episode we ever recorded, we were like sitting outside at a restaurant and I was like eating French fries. And the editing was just horrific because I had
taking out the crunching.
All the mouth noises. Yes.
Well, you and Trevor sound like you're a lot alike because he lives and breathes the business. He is kind of, I would say, more workaholic type person, just like constantly in, dinging when we're on vacation. And I'm just like, leave me alone, just give me my book and get the camera out of my face, the microphone.
Yeah. I will say though, he explained to me when we were in Richmond last year, he explained to me the depths and the amount of time he puts into editing your shows. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Explain that. Tell everybody.
For the listeners, she's talking about me because we met last year in Richmond, got to meet in person.
Yeah.
For the first or second time. So that was fun.
The second time because the first time we did the panel on stage.
Yeah, that was
and then
great.
The second time we just happened to run into each other in the lobby and we were like, hey, let's sit down and talk podcasting. So it was good.
That was fun.
But yeah, tell everybody like what you do to put together your shows.
I just want to say it doesn't have to be this hard.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
He's a perfectionist, so just
bear
bear in mind with that.
I've tried to outsource the editing, but people can just not edit how I want. And we do edit for content as well. So I'll test out jokes that land flat.
Meaning I don't laugh.
So I'll edit that out. I know people's time is valuable. So if things are not clicking well, then I'll just edit. So we could have like an hour and a half of recording and I cut it down to 45 minutes, 55 minutes. So it is painstaking, time-consuming work. It usually takes me like 2 full days to edit an episode, to record and edit.
Do you ever feel like when you cut it down that much, do you ever wonder, depending on who the guest is, like if they're like, hey, I recorded with you for way longer than that?
I don't know. That's a good question. I always tell our guests, I'm like, hey, we do edit. So if you want to have something struck out or you want to restart a sentence, no worries. So I don't think my guests.
Like saying, do you want to re-say that?
I'll set up the question sometimes if it didn't kind of go out smooth. I'll set it up for them again. Mainly it's for myself, like if I didn't ask it well. But I don't know how many guests actually go and listen to themselves. I don't think a lot do.
I don't think so either. No, I agree.
That's why some guests don't promote the episodes they're on. They just...
Well, because I want to listen before, if I'm on a show, I want to listen first to make sure I got a good edit or like I don't sound silly or something, like.
And if you do, you're not going to promote it, right? So
Well, which is why the editing job is all the more important, because you want to edit in a way that your guest sounds good so that they'll want to promote it.
It's true. Exactly.
Yeah. And I'm the type of person who doesn't listen to the finished product at all. So I'm like, I have no idea what he took out. He could be splicing my words together to make me say things that I did.
I did that one time. Sometimes Angie's sister, Autumn, will join us on the podcast once every couple years. And last time she was on the show, I did that where it made her sound like she was saying her kids were kidnapped. And it was nice because she had a nice welcome break at home. Things were quiet. Anyway, how do you get your guests to promote? Is there a trick to that?
No, I mean, Emma, if she sets up the interview, that's my editor. She will send them like hey, your episode aired today. Here's the link. And then we ask them to collab on social media. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And yeah, I mean, I generally will just say like, it really helps if you can share the show.
Yeah.
A lot of people with like huge followings won't collab, which is sad. But a lot of like the newer, younger runners will. And I think that they also get like that it's important and that it's super helpful. But yeah, I just ask. And then I usually always shoot the collab invite. And if they do, they do. They don't, they don't,
Mm-hmm.
What about you guys?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I could be better at asking and following up. It feels like we publish an episode and then I take a breather.
I know.
And then boom, another one's coming up. So
I know. I think you got to ask because I heard one time, I think it was, I was on a Donald Miller kick and I was like listening to his business podcast for a while there. I had to stop because I was like, you have all this intake, and you're not implementing anything. So you got to stop listening to this stuff. Because then you just walk away feeling overwhelmed, like of all the things I didn't get done. Right.
Yeah.
But he did say like, hey, you're probably putting in like 90% work into publishing a podcast and not even 10% promoting it. And like, you're doing all this work and not promoting. Like, why would you ever do that? So yeah, I think promoting heavy is like really important, and you just got to kind of be shameless about it. Like if you're proud of the work you have done, you got to just push.
Yeah, he's totally right. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. But at some point it's like, where else do you send it? Right? Like I throw it up on my Instagram. I throw it out on my newsletter, but like where else can you promote it to like try to bring more listeners in? Do you have any ideas?
If I was more diligent, or if I had like a marketing manager, social media manager, by the way, if anyone in your audience knows how to do that stuff, shoot me an email. And maybe
he might have a job for you.
At least part-time.
But Angie's like, wait, did I approve? Like what?
I don't want to do it.
No, but what I would do is be more diligent in publishing reels from these video interviews. I mean, they don't do as well as
they
other
don't
types
get good
of
engagement. Yeah.
Nah, as other types of video content. But it's something, that we'll maybe get 1,000 to 3,000 views on a reel like that. Whereas
do you think it translates to downloaded episodes though?
I don't know. It doesn't translate to follows. It's hard to know people from Instagram going over to download the podcast. It's hard to track that. You can see followers gained from a reel, likes, shares. Mm-hmm. So I've gotten better in the last year at getting followers and growing Instagram, but the video type interview reels are not what bring in the clicks.
Right. And then does that hurt your engagement for the next post? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think about that too. I don't know if it does. I think if the engagement's low, give it a rest before you publish again. I've
just kind of like, though, moved on to like, I want to get it out. I'm just going to post it. And like, I want to say I don't care about the engagement, but I do. But I also am not going to be like, I'm only going to post it if it's like really pretty and like perfect. Because I just like, I don't have time for that. Like, I don't want to like obsess like that, I want to get it out. We just had tickets to a live show go up for an event I'm doing in Indy. And those went up yesterday. And the woman I'm working with, she's like a podcast host too. She has a show and it's in my network. She's like really doing a lot of the work. Anyway, she posted that they were live and I collabed with her. And then like 4 hours later, she did another post showing the venue. And I was like, yep, collab. Like, I'm just, whatever. Let's just get it out there. It doesn't have to be perfect. But it's going to hurt the engagement, which long term, if you really care, is probably going to hurt how many eyes actually see it. So I don't know what the answer is.
You don't have to get it perfect. You just have to get it going.
Yeah, that's right.
Let me tell you what the algorithm loves, Lindsay.
Your face. Like, they want your face.
Not my face.
Whoever, they want Angie's face.
They want a face.
Yeah, they want the person. I mean, that's what gets the best is if it's you.
Right.
I actually was able to just about double our Instagram following last year. And I had some
tell me more.
Videos go really viral.
Okay.
Reels, of course. So it has to be 90 seconds or less.
Okay.
And
I'm taking notes.
So
he's scrolling through his Instagram right now.
Some of these reels, yeah, I'm scrolling so I can recall this correctly. Some of these reels are repost. So if one's already doing well, it's got a lot of juice, you can repost it. A lot of them allow that. Kind of add your 2 cents. And I did that with
someone else's reel?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Because, they allow reposting.
So if there's a world record, let's say in the running space, or like a big piece of news or something like that, you can repost it, add your commentary, and then boom.
Exactly. It's called newsjacking.
Hey friends, would you like to hear this podcast ad-free? You can go to patreon.com/Lindsay Hein, support the show for as little as $3 a month, and that will get all the episodes all month ad-free. Thanks for being here. Well, let's talk about your marathons because, Angie, you and I ran our first marathon both in 2008.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, marathon twins.
Kind of, because I always I've run 17 marathons, and people always think that's a lot.
It is.
You have run 72 marathons? Or it's probably more than that now.
No, I think it's still at that number. I haven't counted recently, but I haven't done a marathon since Tokyo last year. So
you all have 3 boys, and they're older than ours. So how old are your boys now?
Our oldest is 20, and then 18 and 14 is our baby. So
okay. So they were how old when you started?
When we started, let's see, Riley, our oldest, was 6, and then Gavin was 4, and I was pregnant with our youngest son. So, yeah.
Wow. I don't even know where to go with that because I think back to when I started and I was pregnant with my third, and like now my youngest is 6. And life is so different now.
Oh, yeah.
Already. I mean, we're 6, 8, 10, and 12. But like, talk to me about that with you guys. I mean, you've got one out of the house. I don't know if your 18-year-old is, but like, how are you feeling?
They're all still in the house, actually. Our oldest goes to college locally and works and lives at home still. Because, for young adults, launching is expensive and it takes a while. And we love having him here. He's a great guy. So he's still at home. Our middle one is a senior in high school. So he will be making a life transition in the next few months of, college, hopefully. And then, so it has changed drastically. I mean, they've kind of grown up with our running life. It's just been part of the background, the scenery of their life, getting to travel and, of course, hearing us talk about races and, like they don't even care. With kids, like that's just mom and dad, and like what's so impressive about your mom and dad until you get older and then you realize like what they've actually accomplished and stuff like that. So, they are just, keep us down to earth for sure.
Yeah.
It was funny when they were little guys. We would go to a race and I would stay with the kids. So Angie would run and then I'd meet her at the finish line with the kids, and they were more interested in her snacks, like her post-race snacks, than the fact that she had just run 26.2 miles. They didn't find that very impressive. Yeah,
they're like, I have your chips and let me see your medal. And then they were like moving on with life. So like, where are we going to eat dinner?
I feel like my kids have never came down to see me run a marathon or anything. And I feel like if they did, unless I like won or like was like crazy fast, they would be like, why didn't you run faster? Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what they would say. Even if I like PR'd or whatever. Yeah. But like, I want to talk about, you've done all 50 states and then Trevor, I was looking at your marathons, like in all these different countries, which Angie, I'm sure you've run a ton in other countries too. Like, I want to talk about how you've like managed the travel and like when you bring the kids and when you don't bring the kids. And obviously it's different now because they can be alone. But like, yeah, that's just a lot. That's a lot of travel. So tell me more.
It definitely is. I think when we started out, we were living in Southeast Missouri. So we were kind of, centrally located in the United States. So when I got that first, like the 50 state goal, we kind of just like knocked out ones within driving distance.
Close,
and
yeah.
Generally we would take the kids with us. So they did miss a bit of school, but we're like, oh, they're in kindergarten and second grade. Like, who cares? They're getting a life experience,
Totally.
So either Trevor would watch the kids and I would run, or if my mom could come with us, then we could both do it. So we, there was kind of like a juggling of who did races and depending on our babysitting status. So yeah, I mean, the kids got to travel a lot. Kind of one of our traditions was visiting the state capitol if we were in a state.
Sounds riveting, doesn't it?
So, like
kids might like it.
Yeah. There was different things that they like, mostly like snacks. So, you find out what motivates your kids. You give them the
food.
snacks.
Always food.
We always try to make it, fun, but it was also, in some ways a business trip too. So we'd be meeting listeners and, having things in places that we had to go. So they did get, taken along with us to a bunch of stuff. And I think, they just kind of took it for granted that people traveled and went to all different states. And then, they would meet kids who hadn't even been out of their own state or, really didn't have an idea of what the greater United States looked like. And so I think that as they've gotten older, that's made them realize like, wow, maybe we took it for granted and complained, but it was actually something special.
All right, I got a story for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Angie needed to get Alaska as one of her 50 states.
Okay.
And so we had a camper and we're like, let's just drive there from Pennsylvania, right? That sounds easy. So we loaded up the kids. We drove to Alaska, to Skagway, and then put the camper, we were pulling it with a Suburban. So lots of room. And
how old were the kids at this point?
They were, I don't know, Angie, how old?
What year was it?
2018.
Okay. Yeah, so they were like, our youngest was 8.
Okay, so
7 or 8.
Ages. Okay.
So yeah.
So we loaded the camper and Suburban on a ferry in Skagway, and then took the ferry about 7 hours down to Juneau, so she could run the Juneau Marathon.
Oh my gosh!
It was great. Of course, we saw a lot of just amazing nature. Did hiking, went to a hot springs, got to pan for gold. We had a listener meet us in Juneau who's from there and took us panning for gold. That was a lot of fun.
That's so cool.
So then we drove all the way back, stopped at Glacier National Park in Montana, visited family, and the kids, they kind of complained, the whole way there and back because they're kids. And we never want to do that again. That was too long. We're so sick of this camper. Now, if you ask them, this is like, 5-6 years later, if you ask them, what was the favorite place that you went to with us in the camper? Alaska. We definitely need to go back.
Really?
Yeah. It's like, that's not what you were saying at the time, but.
Let me insert a parenting question here, because it is one of the most frustrating things to me is when your kids get an experience like that or something similar and they complain the whole time. Okay, so how do you deal with that and like without losing your stuff?
Once they get older, they'll appreciate it. That's what we found.
In the short term, you just have to like realize they have such a limited perspective on life, and you just have to be like, I know, guys, I know this is not a fun trip for you. Thank you for coming along and being here to support me, even though you don't want to. And then, and then just wait and just let it go and not try to like, we always try to include something fun for the kids, but not to like pull out all the stops and be like, okay, if you don't complain, we'll, do this or that. And then, like just let time take its course. And actually, our kids would always come back to school in the fall, and the teachers would ask the class like, what did you do this summer? And pretty soon like the kids were realizing like they had some better stories to tell than a lot of people. They're like, oh yeah, we went to Alaska, we drove to up Highway 1 in California and Oregon and Washington, or we went to Costa Rica for the summer. And so then they've kind of realized like, oh,
Yeah. So while we're talking about parenting stuff, though, I want to come back to what you said, like launching is hard and like that transition into adulthood and like honestly, like financially, all the things. So I'm curious, like how you've walked through conversations with your kids about that when like if they feel like left out, not like doing what their friends are doing or whatever. Like let's normalize that this is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things as parents is as your kids get older, you have to start to detach more of your identity away from parenting, because when they're young, they need you. They're climbing on you, mom, a million times a day, or, dad too, they're just very needy on all levels. But as they get older and they start to, think for themselves, even though maybe it's not the way you would think, or have more independence and they're making decisions, like, our job is to help launch them into adulthood so that, instead of making decisions for them, you're more like coming alongside them and their advisor. And I think one thing that was hard for me, because I am a recovering control freak, is that we love our kids so much that we want the best for them and we think we know what's best for them. And we try to impose that. And so it's really hard, but you just kind of have to only there's very few things that can be a big deal when they're teenagers and young adults. And you really have to choose your battles, I would say. So that, and it's an ongoing struggle. Like each kid is going to have their different struggles. Our oldest decided he wanted to take a gap year and that he was like, college is a waste of time. I feel like I'm just going to go straight into the workforce. I can make all this money. And so he decided to do that. And he found out on his own that the workforce wasn't exactly what he was, at least the particular job he was working wasn't where, he thought it would be like. And so he decided then he wanted to pursue college. So, you just have to let them find that kind of stuff out and make those decisions, even though you think like, oh, I could save them so much time and heartache. And you just want to get in there and like lay it out for them because, we think we know. But, we're coming from different generations. They have different struggles. They have different perspectives and really have to respect that and just kind of develop a friendship with them, which is challenging to make that role transition.
Oh my gosh, that's such good advice though, because you do think and honestly the college thing too, I mean like that landscape is just changing. I mean,
yes.
You know what I mean? Like when we got out of high school, like that's what you did. If you were in a certain like socioeconomic class, like you went to college, and if you didn't, like why? What's wrong?
Right.
And not everybody has to do that. I think probably people still feel that pressure.
Yes. And kids feel a lot of pressure to have it figured out at a young age. And there are some kids who are just gifted with that internal drive. They know from a young age what they want to do. They're like relentlessly pursuing it. But for a lot of kids, I think we need to normalize that they're not going to know. And they maybe just need some time to figure it out before being forced into college. Especially, college is more expensive and kids come out of college with incredible amounts of student debt. And that sets them up for struggles in their, early working life as well. So I think, college is a great path. I think it's going to be helpful for most people, but not all people. There's great other career paths and technical programs and things like that. So yeah, I think it really helps. I mean, and I know, we have our own perspectives. Like I had to fight to go to college. I was like the first person in my family, that went to college. My parents didn't finish college. And I had to pay for every penny myself. And so I had this perspective of like, I had to fight to pay my bills and to know what it was like to struggle my way through college. And then we're like, we have this college fund for you. You can't go to every college because we didn't save that much money. But, and then they're like, oh, I don't want to go to college. And you're like, okay,
What are we going to do with this $529?
Hey, I'll use it. I'll go to college.
We'll roll it over to your brother if you're not going to use it.
Yeah, you can do that, right?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man, the 529s. My parents definitely didn't have that going on.
No.
Oh, I love this. I feel like I could learn so much from you guys in like the parenting department. But back to the marathons. Okay, so all the 50 states, this is probably a really basic, boring question, but tell me like what are some of your favorite of all the marathons that you've run in the States?
It's kind of like asking to choose between your children, which one is your favorite on any given day. I've really enjoyed the Wine Glass Marathon in Corning, New York. That is one that I've done twice, and I rarely repeat a marathon, but if I go back, it's usually because it's really good. Marine Corps, I've done 3 times, and that is amazing. Really like that one. I'm trying to think. I guess I have done the Madison Marathon in Montana, and I'm from Montana, so that was really special. It's just a completely rugged, beautiful marathon. And then, of course, Boston, because I had to work so hard to get into Boston. That one, was really special. But there's so many good ones out there. I know Trevor probably has his own favorites.
Go for it.
The Richmond Marathon. You're going to be there again this year?
Oh, yeah. I think so. Yeah, I should be there. Yeah. I hope so.
Hopefully I will, too. I haven't heard from them yet, but it's still early in the year.
Yeah. It's a good one. I mean, I've never run the course, but you hear my voice at the finish line. So,
yeah. I did. I heard your voice.
I don't
remember what you were saying,
I remember seeing you cross. Did you do the half or the full?
The half.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I hate that when I miss someone that I know, and also might have been the other guy might have been on the mic when you came across.
Mm-hmm.
We got to shout them out though, since they sponsor us both, right?
I love the Richmond Marathon though. If I wasn't announcing, I probably would go run it. I mean, you can't beat that mile downhill at the end.
Every race should have that.
It's a cool vibe, and I'm still trying all the breweries in Richmond. There's some great food there.
And I feel like their race, organizers and community is very tight knit, and it just feels like a hometown race, even though it's not my hometown. It feels like a hometown kind of race.
Yeah. I like that description.
Yeah.
As far as other favorites, there's one in Belgium called the Beer Lovers Marathon, where they have breweries on the course and everyone dresses in costume. That was a lot of fun.
Okay.
I love to run in the Alps. So there's some, if people are up to the challenge, they should look into the Jungfrau Marathon in Switzerland. It's just an amazing, I've never seen any place like it. So that was my first time in Switzerland. We're actually going back this year. We're doing a running retreat with some listeners of the podcast. So
when is that?
That will be in July.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so this is are you guys hosting the retreat? Or are you going with a management company? What does that look like?
The latter. Yeah. I do not want to plan and organize these trips. It's way too hard to figure out all the logistics.
Yeah. So much work.
So there's a company we're going with for the second year in a row now. They're called Run the Alps.
Okay.
And we went last year. We did the TMB, the Tour du Mont Blanc in France.
Nice.
And everything worked out really well. There's about 10 runners that joined us over there. So yeah, we're doing it again, going to Switzerland this time. But yeah, Run the Alps handles all the booking. All you got to do is show up and run. You don't have any decisions to make other than what to order off a menu. That's great.
I love that. That's so good. And they pick the lodging and everything too.
Well, they transfer your bags.
Oh,
so we're just running from hut to hut or hotel to hotel with our hydration pack and our trekking poles.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's awesome.
What is the hardest running event you've ever done?
Oh, I'm trying to think. I did the Leadville Marathon.
You did?
And that, we lived in Missouri at the time, so I had no altitude training. That was it was incredibly hard marathon. That was my hardest marathon for sure. I've done a couple of 50 milers, and the second one I did, I had a hamstring issue and I had to walk the last 25 miles. So that one stands out as being quite brutal.
Had to walk the last 25 miles.
That's a lot of miles to have to walk.
That was a very long day.
Why did you finish?
Because I'm incredibly stubborn and probably stupid. I give good advice, but following your own advice sometimes is really hard. So yeah, I just kind of always thought it will get better. Sometimes you walk things out and it will just get better. And then at some point, it was a very small race. It was I actually have to. The aid stations are far and few between. Getting to the end, I'm gonna, I'm only 10 miles.
How else am I gonna get there? Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm stuck in the woods with these people I don't really know, or like I might as well just keep moving forward.
Yes.
Did you consider quitting?
I did not actually. Well, I actually couldn't find the turnaround spot and ended up going an extra 3 miles. So that was also, it was definitely a mental battle. And so I look back and I think that it was good for me because it did help me reframe some things, and it has changed my perspective on training and things like that. So running myself into the ground ended up being a good thing because I learned a lot from it. You know, sometimes those lows in life, you actually come out of them stronger and more grateful, and having learned things that you couldn't learn if everything went perfectly. So I can look back on it and be like, yeah, you know, it worked out the way it was supposed to, but I probably should have been smarter.
Yeah. No, I totally get that for sure. Do you have one, Trevor?
Those mountain races in the Alps that I've done have all been really challenging. I did the Marathon du Mont Blanc in France, in Chamonix, and it was a hot day, so that was really tough. I did make it under the cutoff, so I was happy about that. But it's just like a death march because you're going up and down constantly. There's a guy on Instagram who every time I say Mont Blanc, he gets mad and he corrects me.
How are you supposed to say it?
You can't say the k at the end. It's Mont Blanc.
Hey friends, a quick break here. I first just want to say I am loving recording these episodes with fellow podcasters in the running space. I've wanted to do this series for a long time, and I'm so glad I'm finally making it happen. I'm getting to connect and have real conversations with people who are in the same industry as me. One of the upcoming conversations that I'm excited to share is with my friend Jonathan Levitt. A lot of you probably know him in this world. He's the host of the For the Long Run podcast, exploring the why behind running. And I just want to take a minute to share a little bit about his podcast. Jonathan explores the why and understanding what has enabled some of the best athletes in the world to continue to grow and improve over the years. And the cool thing about it is us amateurs can learn from what we hear on that podcast. He explores how running intersects with everyday life, no scripts, a one-on-one conversation digging into depth beyond running with high-achieving athletes. Some of his most recent episodes include Jenny Jurek. Ooh, she's one of my favorites. She talks about the realities of balancing parenthood, entrepreneurship, and running on that episode. You can hear from Caitlin Miller, who went from math teacher to runner to owner of her own business. Ooh, lessons from pro golfer Scott Stallings on training for the Boston Marathon. I love it when running podcasters have people outside of the running industry and outside of the sport of running on the podcast. And it's so cool to see athletes from other sports train for marathons. So you can learn more. Just check out his podcast, For the Long Run. And you can also give him a follow on Instagram. He is JW Levitt over there. Oh, thanks, John, for supporting my podcast. I'm so excited to get your episode out here in a couple of weeks on this Behind the Mic series. All right, back to the show. Who is the interview that you prepared the longest for?
We get a lot of authors
Yeah.
because we get pitched a lot, and people send us books, and we could probably get like a book a week in the mail. And so I would say having to read the book first, and then Angie reads it because she loves to read. She reads pretty quick.
Same.
And then I'll ask her, you think it's a good interview to pursue? And if she says yes, then I'll read it. So that's probably the bulk of our prep work. Some of these books are pretty thick. Like we had this one dude, this doctor on the podcast last year. How to Not Die is the name of the book, Dr. Greger.
Oh, yeah.
It's like 900-page book.
You read the whole thing?
I did. He didn't.
No, I skimmed it.
Was it good?
It was actually good. Yeah. I mean, it definitely was one of those books that made me think, which I like, kind of challenge some paradigms. I don't know if I necessarily agree with everything, but I had some good takeaways from it. So I think it was a really beneficial book to read.
It was formatted well because he likes lists and outlines. Mm-hmm. So it's another way to get at the knowledge without having to read every single word. So I appreciated that.
I've seen that book, and it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't want to read that because like I'm going to die either way, like by who knows what. And like, I don't want to think about it. for 900 pages. Do you know what I mean?
Well, there is that sense of, like all the emphasis being on the diet, and, you can like go so deep that you need to come up for air. And we all can do better when it comes to our dietary intake and making good choices about our food sourcing and all of that. But I do feel like you do have to live your life, and you have to balance things out and, make decisions based on what's most important to you. For some people, like food is everything. And for some people, they're like, well, I'm going to do like a 80-20 approach, and we're just doing the best we can. So, I think you have to weigh different times in your life. I know especially people who are dealing with specific illnesses, and they really find that like, dialing in their nutrition helps so much. So that is really important. So we all go through different phases of life, and, sometimes you're in a phase where you're just like, I've just got to put dinner on the table for hungry people every night. We need some protein, we need carb, we need some good veggies.
Yeah. Back in the early days, we used to have a lot of biohackers reach out, and we'd have them on the show, like guys like Dave Asprey, Bulletproof Executive. And it just got too weird, and people didn't like it, so we quit having these. But basically, the biohackers taught us that everything in your environment is killing you.
I know, and I don't
everything is unhealthy.
I'm like, do I want to spend $3,000 on reverse osmosis? Do I want to get air purifiers in every single room in my house? And then I just get overwhelmed and I don't do anything.
Right.
I'll tell you, though, the furthest I've gone to record a podcast episode. Okay, so a couple of years ago, we had a listener in Slovakia email me and said, hey, you should come run the Košice Marathon. It's the oldest marathon in Europe. I'm like, well, where is that? So I knew where Slovakia was. I'd been there actually a couple of months before he emailed me. But Košice is way in the east. It's like close to the border of Ukraine. And I was like, well, let's make it happen. So I went out there last year, and
gosh.
I went to Slovakia.
I would never do.
He knows the former prime minister of Slovakia. And so he said, do you want, and this guy's a big time runner. And while he was prime minister in the 90s, he was running marathons. He was a really good marathoner, like 2:30-ish marathoner.
Oh, wow. Dang.
Yeah. His name is Mikuláš Dzurinda. He was a very transformational leader of Slovakia. He was in charge when they joined NATO and when they joined the EU, really, turned the country around. So he said, my contact, Andreas, he says, do you want to come and interview Mr. Dzurinda and then run this marathon? I'm like, sure. So So I thought it was a good angle. It was a good story.
Yeah.
Right. So I did that. I went to the capital, Bratislava, and got to meet the man. And he had good English, thankfully, because I don't speak a word of Slovak. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We're going to do into podcast here. We could talk forever. What is something professionally or personally you both would like to do that you haven't done yet?
I would like to write a book. It would be specific to our audience.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like travel logs, and there's a book that I really enjoyed that we had author we had on the podcast where she basically went around running all these crazy and interesting races and then talked about each one. Like it was a different chapter of the book. Mm-hmm. She did stuff that I'm not going to do, like running naked in a 5K in Florida.
Oh, wow.
Like I'm not about to do that, but
no, I don't think that I'll sign up for that one either.
But the travel adventure genre is interesting and kind of has crossover from what we do. But yeah, I think that's my answer.
Was she on like a nudist colony? Is that even legal?
I think it was hosted like in a nudist colony,
okay.
Probably.
They have, you know who Bart Yasso is?
Yes.
His book.
Did he do it?
He did it at a different place. If you read his book, My Life on the Run, he goes to a nudist colony. He's sent there by Runner's World on assignment, and he does the Bare Buns Fun Run.
I didn't know he ever did that. Oh my gosh.
He said that because this was like in the 80s or some, way back, and it's in Washington State, and he goes there with his girlfriend, and they had only been going out for like a month.
Oh.
So they show up together, and like I guess we get, as soon as they pull into the property, it says no clothes allowed, and then he had to give a talk.
Naked,
like a pre-race talk.
No.
And
was he at least gonna cover up his pride?
He was totally naked, and he was standing behind a podium.
And he gave a talk?
Yeah. standing behind a podium and everyone in the audience is like, hey, that's cheating. You got to move.
Yeah.
You can't hide.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm not willing to do that.
I'm so uncomfortable for him because I feel like running, if everybody's running, you're kind of like, okay. But like standing in front of everybody, it kind of reminds me of, are you guys Seinfeld fans?
I haven't watched it in a long time, but
yeah,
I might know.
There's an episode where Jerry's girlfriend is just like naked all the time. And like he starts getting really uncomfortable and annoyed about it because she'll like cough. And he's like, do we really need to be just like, and she'll just like walk into the kitchen and like start eating. And he's just very much like, there's a time and a place and this isn't it.
Yeah. It's gratuitous. I think that's what Bart said because we had him on the show a couple times. He's like, at first you're looking at it and you're kind of like, your eyes are feasting. But after that, it's like when you eat too much food and you just like throwing up.
I mean, we need to be covered up here. This is too much.
It's just gratuitous. So I don't know. Okay. What about you, Angie?
Yeah, what about you?
Well, it's not professional, but I want to take horseback riding lessons.
Oh, fun.
So, yeah. Someday I will. When I'm not carting my youngest son around to all his activities.
Oh, I know, right? What does he do?
He's really into basketball. So he played for his school team this year. He's on an AAU team now, travel team. He also plays football. He's the kind of kid who wants to be doing all the things.
Let's try it all. Yeah.
So I had to talk him down from doing track as well because I was like,
3 sports in one season.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Step too far. Yeah.
Anyway,
it's hard. It's a hard balance. You want to let him try everything, but like there's only so many hours in a day.
Yes, choices must be made.
Yep. We have like held off our youngest. Like we have always held off decently long compared to people like start their kids in soccer when they're like 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And my youngest is going to be 7 this year, and I'm finally going to let him like join the soccer league that the other boys do because I'm just like, we don't need to start too early. Right. We don't need to. I mean, like this next like few years is going to be real intense. So
yes, when you have 4 in sports, there's a lot of moving parts there.
Yeah, for sure. What's the best, most recent book you've read?
I think the best one that I recently read was called The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. I actually did it on audio. I did like it a lot. As I kind of mentioned, I was kind of a type A personality, like to control things and, having to like pull back that and, let people be people and let them make decisions. And it's all about your response, to the situation. And so I really thought it was good. She had a lot of good examples about how to apply it in life and different things. So that was a good book.
And does she do the audio?
She does. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, what do you have, Trevor?
You mentioned Donald Miller. Actually, I just finished this book, Building a Story Brand.
Okay.
It's a good book.
Oh, wait, this is funny. Look.
Hero on a Mission. Oh, I haven't seen that one.
I bet you'd like it. Yeah.
Yeah, the hero's journey. It's powerful. Meta-narrative.
Yeah.
So this is a good book for marketers, copywriters, storytellers.
I mean, Donald Miller and I go way back because I read Blue Like Jazz in college. My grandma gave it to me. So, and now he's like very much in the business marketing.
Yeah. He's killing it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. What is your last message to leave with our audience today? Come
to the Dublin Marathon and run it with us. We're going to be running it. It's October 26th, and we got a sponsor that's takes people there, Sports Tours International.
Nice.
So they handle all logistics, hotels, and you just sign up and go.
Is that...
You should come, Lindsay, to the Dublin Marathon. I'm sure you're not busy.
Oh my gosh. I feel like if I traveled all the way to Dublin, that's when I would have to bring my family too.
Yeah, definitely.
Sports Tours, was that Destination Marathons? Did they buy Destination Marathons?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
They're in North Carolina, I think.
Well, Mark, he lives in Charlotte. So I've done some things with them in Boston. So I'm familiar. Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, just with what we were just talking about, like fall and spring is when marathon season is. So then that's when there's job opportunity, like emceeing and stuff like that. However, that is also soccer season, fall and spring. And like, I've pretty much, and I'm not saying this to say like people are knocking down my door, because it's not true at all, but I pretty much am like 6 max out of town trips a season. And I don't even have like that many more opportunities happening. I guess I could seek out more, but I'm just like, I don't want to be gone more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's important in the season of life that you're, there and, more high touch with your kids, because in 10 years, it's going to look totally different. You're going to be in a totally different space. Yeah. So I think that's important for people to realize, is that you have different seasons in life, and, just be present in the season that you're at. And there's going to be opportunities, whether it's professionally or running, in the future that are different than now. Not saying that you don't have to pursue things and work towards things, but I think it's important, because sometimes we can look at what everyone else is doing and be like, they have such a better life than me, and I have all these mundane things. But everyone has mundane things, and everyone else is looking towards something better. So I think a lot of contentment and being present in life and running is an important thing.
Yeah. I mean, I need to hear that, because sometimes you do wonder, you're like, well, if I hustled now, like I used to hustle 8 years ago when I was launching this thing, like how much bigger or how much more exciting could my career be? But then I'm like, you can't have it all. Right. Something drops.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you can't get the time back.
Exactly.
With your kids.
And I think you're going to have so, you have so much left of life. And that's the amazing thing. I think that it's different now. Like the 40s are more like, people's 20s. Like,
yeah,
I really feel like we have second and third acts that are only going to be better. And you can only experience them if you're present and appreciative of what you have right now.
I just saw a Donald Miller video, and he's like, I in my 50s now, and I feel better than I've ever felt. I'm so excited to be in my 50s. I'm at my peak, he said.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. Yeah, because there is another side to that of like struggling with feeling like, am I relevant anymore because I'm aging? And like, I don't necessarily feel like that's happened yet, but will I feel like that in 10 years? But look at freaking Mel Robbins. Like, it is what, it's like you make it what you want it to be. And if some people think you're irrelevant, okay.
Yeah, we're not going to be for everyone. And I think that's important to realize that, everyone is not going to like us, as Mel Robbins says, and it's okay. Like, let them not like you. Let them think you're not relevant. But you're going to have a specific group of people that you can really touch and influence and make a positive difference in their lives. And so just focus on that. Focus on the positive.
That's so good. Oh, guys. Well, I have appreciated this and just feel a kindred connection.
Yes.
And I appreciate what you guys are doing and continue to do, and staying in this space and like being the real ones. And you've been here from before day one, really. So yeah. Thanks for everything.
Well, this is a fun conversation, Lindsay. So thank you for having us. And we talked about topics that we've never talked about on any other podcast.
Oh, good.
So this is fun. Yeah.
You don't have a like desperate mom of 4 a season behind you being like, tell me what to do.
No.
On your other podcasts.
Yeah, we actually don't talk a lot about parenting or even our kids on our podcast. So
we've never done an episode Trevor rants about podcasting.
Well, when we met in Richmond and you told me you had 3 boys, I don't even think I realized that. And I was like, oh my gosh, really? Okay. What can I learn from you?
Well, hopefully I'll see you in Richmond this year.
Yeah, I plan to be there. So maybe Angie, you can come sometime too.
Yeah, maybe I will make it this year. Who knows?
Yeah, this will be my 5th year, so fifth time's a charm getting her there.
Yeah, come on down.
All right, peer pressure.
Well, I am going to go walk and meet those boys after school.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for being here today, everybody. Thank you, Trevor and Angie, for hopping on and sharing about your story and the podcast. It's been really fun to learn from you and watch you grow and just be in this community together. Check them out on Instagram, Marathon Academy. They've got 45,000 followers over there. You can also find me. I'm Lindsay Hine626 on Instagram. And then learn more about this show and all the shows in our network. We've got some exciting announcements coming up at sandyboyproductions.com. You can learn more on my personal website, lindsayhine.com, where I've got training plans. Don't forget, if you're thinking about going to Boulder, go to the Boulderthon Marathon, half marathon. They've got a 5K, all kinds of race distances. Just check it out at boulderthon.org, and you can use the code HEIN, HEIN 20 for $20 off your registration for the half marathon or the marathon. All these episodes are ad-free at patreon.com/Lindsay Hine. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you this Friday on I'll Have Another with Lindsay Hine podcast.